Hi guys, Tracy here with another layout using the Lost in My Mind kit from Scraptastic, and I have this photo of my daughter's My Little Ponies all lined up in the bathtub, and I just wanted to document that because My Little Ponies is a really big part of her bath time these days. So I have this pink piece of cardstock from the kit, and then I also have that really pretty orange and yellow and pink bokeh paper from the kit that's from Alison Kreft from the Sprinkled with Love collection, I think it was called. And I'm thinking about using another flower cutout, although all these layouts go right side by side in my album, so I'm a little hesitant to use that another time because I've already used it 3 times on layouts that will all be close together in my scrapbook. So I'm just picking out some colors of pattern paper that I think might work with this layout. What I want is for the colors in the My Little Ponies to be the brightest, and so I'm trying to choose some more subdued pattern papers for most of this layout, but I do have a couple of bright ones picked out just in case I want to go a different direction. So I really love how that pink pattern paper looks on the pink cardstock, and I really think that it does a good job of making the My Little Ponies all kind of stand out. It's similar color tones, but not exactly but they're a little bit more subdued so that the ponies stand out a little bit. So I'm using my fine Pitt pen from Faber-Castell to do my outlining here. I just double outlined it in a little bit of a messy way, and I'm just writing down what I'm using on my layout ingredients sheet, and I use that when I'm oh, sorry, there's noise upstairs. It's a storm day today, and my kids are home, and my husband is up with them right now. So yes, I forget what I was saying there, but hope the noise doesn't distract you guys. So this is a piece of vellum from my stash, and I'm just cutting it to be a little bit smaller than the piece of pattern paper that I'm using there. And I should have torn it with my ruler. I find it hard to distress the edges of vellum, so I forgot to tear it with my ruler instead of cutting it with a straight line. So I just used my distress tool to do that. I did crinkle it up a little bit just to give it a little bit more interest, I guess. And I'm playing around with how I'm going to layer these papers together. And I also have this heart paper, which is also from the Sprinkled with Love collection from Alison Kreft. And I'm going to make it into a little bit of a banner. Not a little bit of a banner, a fairly large banner actually. And I'm just kind of playing around with the sizing of it so that I can get it so it will layer properly with the other elements that I have going on. So that's where it's going to go. And this layout is basically going to be a whole bunch of layers in the center of my page. And so I am going to outline this with the same pen just so that all of the elements will come together and look like they kind of belong. So double outline on that as well, and then I'm writing down my ingredients. Oh right, I was telling you about that ingredient form, which is something that I use to help me do my narrations. It also helps me if I'm doing a blog post about this. So I thought about using this paper, but I think it's going to distract a little bit from the ponies. As I mentioned, I wanted the ponies to be the brightest thing on the page, and that paper with the stars is just a little bit too distracting. This is from the Bella Boulevard Lucky Stars collection, and I really love the cursive writing on the back side of it, and I had forgotten that it was even there. So I'm glad I flipped it around and had a look at it because I've been wanting to use the back side of this paper as well. So I'm going to just outline it so it coordinates with all the other papers that I'm using. And there we go. And I'm just lining it up so that the banner covers the right side edge of that paper. And now before I get too much further into this layout, I want to start sticking things to one another because it's going to be hard for me to remember where everything goes if I don't do that fairly soon. And I'm just working from the top down, which makes it easy for me to decide where everything needs to go. And I needed to move that one because I wanted all of the layers to kind of line up in a certain way. What I wanted to do was I wanted to be able to see all of the top right-hand corners of all of those, and so I'm just showing you that right there. And then I wanted the banner there to cover the right side edge of that paper. So it wasn't quite, so I just cut a little bit off instead of taking it off and lining it up again. You can't really tell. So now I'm using some foam pop dots that came with the kit as the little extra thing, and I'm using two different sizes. But what I mean by the extra thing is if you buy a Scraptastic kit 2 months in a row, you get a little free goodie. And this month it was these pop dots in the thinner size, and in other months we've gotten the pop dots in the thicker size. So I'm using both sizes so that everything kind of layers over one another, and that just adds some space so that once I put this layout in my page protector, right now it stands out quite nicely because there's nothing laying against it, but I want it to be able to stay dimensional even in my album. So that's why I'm putting the pop dots in. And now I'm going to do something here that I'm actually not going to use on this layout. What I love about this trimmer is that you can trim papers even when they still have the manufacturer's little edge on them. So because the trimmer is more than 12 inches long. So I'm just using my double embossed dotted lace border punch, which is one of my favorites. I'm just showing you a close-up there on this piece of Amy Tangerine floral paper. Sorry, my brain is not working as fast as my mouth is not working as fast as my mind. I can't keep up. So I'm outlining the scallops, and I wasn't sure from the beginning if I was going to like this. I'm just kind of going with it just to see if I can make myself like it by outlining it and getting it all nice and finished the way that I would put it on a layout. But I'm pretty sure I'm not going to use it. But I'm taking the time to do it anyways because I might change my mind, and also I can use it on another layout in the future. So I decided that it was just too busy and distracting from everything else. Like it was too different from everything else with all of those bright, bold black lines on it. So I decided to go with that plus edge that's kind of off of the edge of one of the other Amy Tangerine papers, but it's not wide enough to scallop it. So I'm going to take this this watercolored paper, also from Amy Tangerine, and these are all from the kit except for the vellum. Everything so far is from the kit, and I'm just kind of making it a little bit smaller because I made it too big at first, and I'm going to use that same punch, and I just showed you how I'm starting I'm not starting on the edge, I'm starting in the middle of one of the scallops, and that just makes it look less contrived, I guess, more like like it randomly ended on the edge of a scallop. So I'm gonna again go ahead and outline this, just double outlining it. And I don't like the process of outlining scallops. It's one of my least favorite things to do because I find it difficult to make it look good. But I find that the more I practice, the better I get at it, at following the edges of the paper for the getting the curves right. So my scallops today look quite a bit better than my scallops did 6 months ago because I've practiced a little bit more. So if you don't like the way your outlining looks, just keep practicing because it does get better with time. I just lined that up so that it runs off the page, like it goes out further than all of my other layers. Just writing a couple of things down there to keep myself caught up. And that's looking a little plain. I do like how you can see the white edges on the top of that, but I'm going to add the plus strip that you see up there underneath of my little silver tray. But first I'm going to play around with the placement of these. As soon as I saw this package they are called Jelly Bean Soup Wood Sprinkles, and they came in the kit. As soon as I saw them in the kit, I knew I wanted to use them in this way. I just love doing clusters of either brads or buttons or little circular elements that just make a cluster that's all kind of squished together. And so I knew I wanted to use those for this. I think it gives a lot of impact, and I guess it kind of makes a lot more of a statement when you use those kinds of elements all together rather than spreading them out over a layout. Spread out looks good too, but this really kind of gives this layout an embellishment that's going to stand out, and that's going to be this cluster of those wooden sprinkles. So, not sure. Oh, yes, I remember what I was doing. I'm just trimming down that plus strip a little bit, and I did that off screen just so I didn't have to drag my trimmer all the way over. One of the downsides of that trimmer is that it is a little bit heavier and more difficult to move around than the Fiskars one. So, and while I'm at it, I'm going to put some adhesive on that My Everyday die cut that came in the kit, and I'm just going to stick it. And then I realized I had put a pop dot there, so I have to pull that pop dot off and stick that down, and then I'm replacing the pop dot on the other side of that die cut so that the whole thing kind of stands up off of the other layers, and that gives a bit of shadow, which adds even more dimension. So I want this plus strip from it's just basically the manufacturer's strip from another piece of paper I used on a different layout, and I want it to hang over the edge on the left hand side of that scallop. And I placed it so that you can still see the white edging on the watercolor of that scalloped thing. So I'm just randomly sprinkling here because my layout is in the center. It doesn't have any shape to it. It's not going diagonal. There's not going to be any little cluster anywhere. So I'm just randomly sprinkling mists everywhere. I'm using my heat gun to dry it all. It does take a while to dry, especially that white Mr. Huey's mist, which I have a whole other bottle of that stuff, so it's going to be a while before I get a chance to switch to another brand, but I won't be buying Studio Calico mist anymore because it's not very, I don't have a hard time using it on pattern paper because it sops right into the pattern paper really quickly and dries it all up. But on cardstock, it seems to just kind of sit on the surface, and it does stay pretty chalky and messy for a while. It takes a long time to dry. So I actually don't love how these sprinkles turned out, but once you sprinkle, it's done, so I can't really change it. I'm just kind of, again, sopping up some of the white ink so that it doesn't make a mess everywhere. And what I really wish is that cluster of sprinkles in the top right hand corner was down a little bit because there's a gap between my layers and where the sprinkles are. I'd rather have the sprinkles look like they're coming right out of the center. But anyways, I'll fix that a little bit at the very, very end. I'll add a couple of sprinkles over there. I know I might be being a little bit too fussy about those sprinkles. They're supposed to be random, and they are random, so I guess that it is what it is, right? So now I am using my original photo of how I had these set up as my guide for how I'm going to put these back, but then I'm also going to be flexible about it because as I look at it, I kind of feel like I want them to be kind of spreading more over onto the layers and not so much off to the side. So I am shoving them all over a little bit. And moving them around a little bit so that some different colors are beside each other. And then I'm going to start sticking them down right away because I don't want to spend too much time. I don't want to overthink this cluster. I just want to get it down. And that red one, I did want to have it kind of look okay with the scallop that was underneath of it. So what I'm doing is I am adhering down, and they're self-adhesive. They have a little thing you peel off on the back. And I want to place the ones that matter the most first and get those stuck down and then place the other ones around it. So of course the big ones sort of make most of the shape, and I'm going to move that red one eventually because once I put my title on, I'm going to need to move that tiny red one. But yeah, so again, I am spending a lot of time contriving this to look like it's not very contrived. So yeah. I'm thinking about using some of these stickers as layers, and that routine one was a great opportunity because what I could have done is circled all of our bath days. We have circles, we have baths almost every other day, and so that would have been a good way to use that, but it was just too big and bulky and also too bright and with the bold black, and so it just wasn't working with this layout. So what I've done here is this blue container just holds all of the October Afternoon and Ellie's Studio die cuts that come with the It's My Life kit, and so So this is stuff that's obviously not in the Lost in My Mind kit, but I thought that some of these pieces would work really well with this layout, so I grabbed them from the It's My Life kit, because obviously that kit comes with a whole lot of die cuts, and there's no way that I'm ever going to use all of those die cuts for layouts using that kit, so I don't mind dipping into them for this, because there's plenty left for other layouts that just use that kit. So I'm thinking about what else I'm going to do here, any other ways that I might embellish. And in my mind, I'm not completely sure where my title is going to go. I'm thinking it might go along the top layers, but I'm going to write out my title without really thinking about where it's going to go. So I'm using the Amy Tangerine letter stickers that came with the kit, and I'm spelling out bath time with using those letter stickers. And then I'm going to grab those alpha bean, what are they called? Jelly bean soup bean board alphas. And it's hard to find 3 letters out of this whole big assortment of crazy letters, but I'm eventually going to find the L. And I wanted it to be caps because it's standing for something, so I'm starting to think maybe I used the L, but I know that it comes with more than one L, so my chances of having used 2 capital L's already are pretty low. One of my viewers had a really good idea, which is that when they use the letters in a package like this, they cross them out on the back of the little piece of cardboard that comes with the packaging. So that's a really good idea for keeping track of what letters you have left. And I do that a lot with sticker packs, especially the Amy Tangerine ones that come in a little booklet. I often will kind of cross out the back on the back where you can see all of the pages on one piece of cardboard. But it's a good idea to do it with letters so you know how many you have left. So I'm kind of playing around with the placement here. I want to keep the MLP close to the cluster of embellishments because I want them to kind of lead into each other. I don't want to have too much going on. I don't want you to have to look at all 4 corners of this picture to take in everything. I want to keep it pretty simple because that embellishment is a pretty big, potentially gaudy part of the layout, and I don't want it to have a real gaudy look. So I'm kind of trying to anchor my title into that cluster so it doesn't look like just a random cluster that's just there for the sake of being there. Even though it kind of is there for the sake of being there because I just love that so much. I just wanted to use it on this layout. But I'm trying to make the overall layout look like it has some purpose other than just being fun, which is enough purpose really if you think about it. So I'm using my glossy accents this time to put down these letters, and I like using glossy accents because I feel like I have more control over it than I have over the mono multi that I've used before with these letters, and so there's no blobbing at all. I just put a teensy little bit of glossy accents on there so it doesn't smear or kind of ooze out the edges at all. So again, I'm placing these letters so that they're a little bit askew so that it looks kind of thrown together quickly. It actually took me an hour and 45 minutes, an hour and 39 minutes to do this layout, so it's definitely not thrown together. The photo size that I'm using here is a 4x6 photo that I printed it up with borders. And oh, I'm losing my voice here. So we're home on a blizzard day. It's supposed to be the worst storm of the year. So we're all staying inside. The kids are doing wee upstairs and I'm down here scrapbooking. So I'm just taking some of those elements from both Ellie's studio and the October afternoon die cuts. And these are the ones that came with the It's My Life kit, not with the Lost in My Mind kit. But you know, we all have a bunch of these little die cuts hanging around from different packages and previous projects. So you know, it's important to use up all those little bits and pieces, and this is a great opportunity just to kind of add a bit of embellishment to go along with that big giant cluster of wood sprinkles. So I am going to outline some of these elements just so that basically it gives them a little bit more definition. And that ormolu flare badge makes a much better circular element for that top because it is a different texture than the other ones. So I did have to pull off that red dot, that red wood sprinkle there. So I just had to use one of my own pop dots to add that to a different place in the cluster. And you'll notice when I outline circles, I go quite a bit more slowly because I'm not as good at doing curved edges as I am at doing straight edges. And for this one, I'm just outlining right where the blue meets the cream background of this die cut. And I'm going to outline this one much quicker, and what that does is it makes it a thinner line than when I go slow. Adding a little pop dot on that because it's going to have to be layered with that chipboard letter M. And then I also put some other adhesive that's not dimensional, so it's going to kind of rise up and layer over the yellow letter. Now I'm using my roller date stamp, just my plain office one, and I think it was called Slate Gray. Yep, smoky gray, which is the lighter of the two grays that I have from Stampin' Up. Basically, I don't want to make that date be black because it'll stand out too much. I want it to blend in a little bit. So I pop dotted that arrow using those pop dots that came in the kit as the little freebie. And now I'm going to go ahead and outline these elements as well. Actually, I'm just going to outline this thing. I'm not going to outline the other ones. The pink element has some black stitching on it, so that's enough black. And then I was going to outline the little kind of paper clip that I'm using right now, but I decided it would be a little bit too busy. The details on that are too small for the look I'm looking for right now. Sometimes I would outline something like that, but not in this case. So between all of those outlines with all of the layers of that pattern paper, you see how that would be a whole lot of outlining all in one tiny little space. So that's why I chose to leave more of the elements in this cluster plain as opposed to having tons and tons of intersecting lines all in a close space. I'm going to add a tiny bit of journaling here. It says Sophie's bath friends equals My Little Pony. It doesn't make perfect grammatical sense, but you get the drift. So now I'm feeling like I need to just add a little bit more embellishment to this one, something that's not paper. And so I took these puffy stickers from Amy Tangerine that came in the kit, and I just added 2 of them right there. I was going to add another 1 or 2 or 3, but I'm kind of I'm struggling with how to embellish this little cluster. A part of me feels like the cluster looks fine just as it is, and it does, and I didn't need to add anything, and here I'm adding way too much, so I'm going to take it off. Sometimes you just have to give yourself permission to play around with something and to do something, even if you're pretty sure it won't look good. You won't really know until you try it. So I always try to just give myself permission to do some things that, even if I'm pretty sure it won't look good, you never know. Sometimes you can discover something new that you actually like just by taking that risk. And these stickers peel off pretty easily, so it's not a huge deal if I change my mind. So I end up doing enamel dots instead, and sorry that a lot of these are off screen as I'm adding them. I'm just adding a small little cluster of enamel dots. And really, it's a little bit overkill, and I really didn't need to do that. So I'm pretty sure that I think this layout would have looked better without that addition, but I did it and I didn't want to bother taking them off. Enamel dots are a little bit stickier than other stickers, and I wasn't confident that I could get them off without ruining the paper underneath, so I just decided to leave it as it is. As I've mentioned before, sometimes I fix things and sometimes I leave them, and those enamel dots are not so vibrant that they're going to take away from the look of the layout necessarily. I think probably the reason that I even was inclined to use enamel dots in that situation is that I wasn't happy with the way the splatter was looking, so I thought I might be able to kind of I don't know. But anyways, it looks okay. I really love the cluster of those wood sprinkles. I just love them. And yeah, so that I kind of feel like I really love this layout because of the bright punches of color and the use of that kind of cluster of wood sprinkles. And I just like how all the paper layered together in this case. Sometimes it comes together nicely and other times it doesn't. And this time I'm really pleased with how it came out. So I do love this layout. So I don't think I have anything else to say about this one. If you've got any questions or if I missed anything or wasn't clear, just let me know. That is where I keep my enamel dots, in one of those little containers from Michaels. And I just felt like that I needed a pink one up there. So that's what I'm doing right now. So hang tight and you'll see some photos of this layout. And thanks so much for watching, and I hope everybody's having a great scrappy week.